Here we go. Welcome to Double Dribble Bucks. I am Seth. With me, as always, is my good friend Brett. How you doing tonight, Brett?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk the mid-season Bucks grades and what we can look forward to.
Yeah, we're kind of pretty much halfway through the season here. 18 and 25, 2 games beyond the midway point. 18 and 25, I just said. Not what we expected. I would, I would say if we go back to our first episode, I think we gave our guesses as to how many wins they were going to have. I think I was at 50, 50 plus.
Yeah, I think I was about there too.
Yeah, which and we were kind of criticizing the naysayers and the odds. Las Vegas odds seemed pretty low. It was like 42 maybe. It was like pretty low. Unfortunately, they all seem to be correct, or they're also wrong, because that's how bad the Bucks have been. 11th in the East, not even in the play-in at this point. 4 games back from the 6th seed, 9 games back from the 2 seed, 14 and a half games back from Detroit, which is the 1 seed, which nobody picked that. On pace for the worst Bucks season in regards to record and net rating since the 2015-2016 season. That was Jason Kidd's second year, and it was the last time the Bucks did not make the playoffs. They've made the playoffs 9 years in a row. So not good. I guess maybe to kick off the pod here, we can just kind of talk about where do we go from here. Okay, we're certainly not where we want to be. We've had lots of discussions about it up to this point. We haven't talked too much about what to do. A little bit of trade talk here and there. But what would you do with you're head of the Bucks, your John Horst position, or Haslam that isn't around. You're the new Haslam. Where are you taking? How are you going to look at the rest of this season and going into next season? Do you want to win? Do you want to lose and get a good draft pick? Like, where do you take it?
Well, I think if I was running the Bucks, I'd like to be able to see what I think everyone else in the world sees, and it's coming down to coaching because you build the roster as the GM, and as we talked about before, it's like you have a roster that's built with playmakers for Giannis. And so, he should be able to have all the offense running through him. And then when you see reports where Giannis is like, I should touch the ball more, we're getting selfish with the ball. That's frustrating. And I feel like that's that lack of leadership in there. So, the first thing I would do is fire the coach. But assuming that's not an option, I think at this point, you might have to give up on some of the younger talent. I mean, ones that we've talked about before, KPJ and Gary Trent Jr. would be ideal. But if you start getting in conversations about AJ Green or Rollins, that becomes more difficult. But I guess it depends on what role are they filling. Are we getting like a top of the line wing, defender that's going to just like completely take us to the next level, like a PJ Tucker kind of defense? I don't know. Then you maybe think about it, but I don't know. I'm definitely not trading Giannis. I feel like that still makes no sense. The problem is I just don't know what players are available anymore. It's like, you're watching some of these teams that you expect to be tanking. Like, Detroit is just always seems weird now, just to see him at the top, like he said. But it's like, I don't think Detroit has a lot of young players that they're trying to trade away for, some veterans that we have. I feel like they got their team where it is. So, I don't know. The trade market seems weird to me. I feel like years past it was more clear, but I don't know. I would not trade Giannis, and I would try to shop one of those guys.
Yeah. With the Giannis thing, I think it just doesn't make sense at all from the Bucks' perspective to trade Giannis. Like, the only way to trade him is if he quits on the team. If he basically demands a trade, which everybody at ESPN wants him to do, right?
Right.
But if he doesn't do that, like, he's 31. He's not like 37, and there's like 5+ years with an extremely good player. Maybe you expect him to lose some as he gets older, especially with how athletic he is, but not like he's going to just become a negative player or something. He's going to be a very good player for a while here. So I don't understand from the team perspective why you would give up on that. Like, yeah, sure, this year is terrible so far, and it doesn't look good to compete for a championship this year. But that doesn't mean you can't compete next year. It certainly doesn't mean you can't compete in 2 years. And the impression I get from hearing other people talk about this is it's like, oh, it's just over for the Bucks forever. They would never can do anything, just because this year is so bad. And it's just, and they're like that with anything. Last year the Pacers had no chance to start the playoffs. Last year the Spurs weren't building a good team around Wemby. They making mistakes. They're not going for it. What are they doing? Hey, look at the Spurs are like, I don't know the record in front of me, but they're like maybe the second seed in the West, something like that.
Yeah,
and half the season they didn't have Wemby. So you can't even say like, hey, Wemby's carrying that team. Like, sure, obviously he's super important and he's awesome, but that team is somehow really good. And like, what is it about San Antonio that a year ago people were complaining about the roster around Wemby, and now it's great? So in terms of like the Bucks, like, yeah, okay, their roster's not good enough. You gotta, like, how can Giannis play with these guys? What are you gonna do? Like, he needs to demand a trade. Like, well, who knows what's gonna happen next year? Even some of these same guys, like I'm pointing to the Spurs, maybe they figure it out and they will learn how to play together, and some of these young guys get better. Rollins becomes an all-star. Things like that can happen, and no one really gives that a chance. It's just like, it's so short-sighted. What's the immediate narrative? What can we do to, they want the drama too. That's kind of a part of it, especially when it's not their team. So yeah, on the Giannis thing, I think for sure don't trade him unless you're forced to. I guess I'll give it back to you, see if you have anything to say to
that. Yeah, I think, you're right. You don't want to be like the Herb Cole years where he would trade away young prospects to go for it this year, and it was a weak roster, and you were always kind of like, I don't understand what you're doing. So you definitely don't want to do that type of thing. And, if we look at the year and say, all right, this is just going to be a bad year, we're going to try to get a good draft pick because I think we actually own it this year. It doesn't mean you have to draft somebody. You could always use that to trade for a veteran. You actually have a decent piece to fill. But yeah, I think, you're right. I just don't want to give up too many things to try to fix a roster that doesn't seem like it's, one piece away. It seems like there's like a lot of pieces that just aren't fitting together. And it sucks too, because I've seen a lot of things where they're saying, the Miles Turner thing didn't work. And it still, sucks because that was kind of the narrative that was going with Dame. And, we were trying to defend it. It was like, no, look at this, look at this. But it just never really clicked the way anyone thought it did. So that's unfortunate. But I think that comes down to coaching again. It's just, I feel like if you're going to get the best talents of people, you have to be able to coach. Look at like the Bears. Shit, the Bears had 4 wins last year, and then all of a sudden go to have 4 losses this year. It's like, that's a huge turnaround with essentially the same roster, and you said a new coach come in. So it's like, that's the big thing. If there was a glaring need somewhere, that'd be one thing to be talking about trades, but it's like, there's just nothing that stands out outside of the coaching.
Yeah, the other thing with trading Giannis is we don't own our own pick until 2031. So this year we don't own our own pick, but New Orleans is so bad that it's fine. So like Atlanta gets the best of our pick or their pick, I believe, and then we get the worst of the 2 picks. But they're like terrible. So basically we could tank this year and get a really good. We don't know if that would happen in the future. And actually, I don't think we even have a pick next year and 3 years from now. And then 2 years from now, it's a swap. And 4 years from now. So it's like, it's just, if you try to, tank and like trade Giannis and just, you can't basically do that because you don't own your own picks. So that's another reason where it's like it's such a bad situation if Giannis were to say, I demand a trade. Now, you would get a really good package back from Giannis for Giannis, but unless it's your own picks back, that's just a really difficult road to go. So there's so many reasons not to do it that people don't really discuss, or bring up. But yeah, and then going on, you mentioned Miles Turner. What for me, Miles Turner, he's definitely not been as impactful as I was hoping, especially on the defensive end. There's sometimes you see it, but it's not always there. At the same time, I don't get the feeling, I'm not yelling at the TV to take him out. I'm not feeling like he's getting played off the court. And that happened a lot with Brook Lopez. Now, sometimes Brook Lopez was great. We talked about how the matchup was it mattered a lot with Brook Lopez. With Miles Turner, I don't really think of that nearly as much. That's not to say he's disappointing in certain places, and maybe we need to go in a different direction, certain matchups and whatever. But for the most part, I want him starting. I want him playing. He is better than the guys to put in for him. He's not terrible. I think it is. I think that it's definitely Doc Rivers' fault for not figuring this out, not having a good defensive scheme to match his players. I think that's pretty obvious that the scheme's not working on offense or defense. So yeah, to that point, I think I'm not too disappointed with Turner. I'm more disappointed with Doc Rivers. But in terms of this, where would we go here for the rest of the season? I think. I mean, I don't think we're going to be competing for a championship. I think the number one thing I don't want to do is a Chicago Bulls kind of move. Don't go get these pseudo big names that aren't going to really move the needle and aren't winning players for the future. We need to build a winning culture, rebuild a winning culture. We've somehow completely lost it. We have no identity. We need guys who are going to come in here and compete, provide energy, provide a spark, do the right things, do all the things on the margins, do all the rebounding, draw charges, get steals, get blocks, deflections, play great team defense, on ball defense. We need all the high energy, hard, difficult stuff, So I'd rather get no name type guys, or, Keon Ellis is maybe the name that's popped up the most. That's kind of a fit with this kind of thing, with the kind of guys that we want. I don't want a Zach LaVine, or a Jeremy Grant, or, guys who just go from team to team. They put up numbers, but they're not winning players. They've never been on a winning team. What that says something, doesn't it? And so that's the number one thing I don't want to do. I do want to split, mess up this team. Let's change some of these players out. Maybe some players I like even. I guess the players I would really not want to trade out is Ryan Rollins and AJ Green, I guess. Depending on who you get back, I'm open to anything, though, really. But those two guys are on really good contracts. They're solid. They're two of my favorite players on the team. Young, solid, getting better, hopefully. Everybody else should be open. You should be looking to trade. It doesn't, how can we make a trade work that's going to get one of those types of players that I'm talking about? Let's get those guys in here, and any of those other guys can go out, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. How many of those guys are there? I know you mentioned one, but it's is this something that's easy to find that we're going to start, shopping these pieces? Because, the one problem I'm having lately is, you look at Doc and we talk about him changing these lineups and how some of them don't make sense. I mean, the other night, I think he had Cole Anthony, Pete Nance, crap, I can't even remember everyone that was on, but it was just I didn't understand the lineup at all. It didn't make any sense. And it keeps going back to our favorite from last year with Ajax. It's I seriously don't know what that guy did to go from starting last year for several games to seeing no minutes and losing significant playing time to, these other guys, Cole Anthony's and, um, who are good in spots, but the more you lean on them, the more they tend to break. So it's like you really got to swap them out a lot. Um, I just don't know what's happening with some of these lineup choices. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, part of the issue is some of the guys that are playing a lot, like probably should be role player type guys. Honestly, AJ Green, as much as we love him and talk about him, I think he's ideally not a starter. Like if you have if you have a championship roster, I think he's coming off the bench. The thing with AJ Green, and the more we've seen him play, he doesn't do anything else on offense. He's one-dimensional. He just shoots threes. That's it. And when you see him dribble into the lane, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what's coming next. He's kind of like afraid. I just want to, hopefully I don't turn this over. And he puts up awkward shots, or sometimes he has good passes. Sometimes he turns it over, but he's not confident. He doesn't, it's just not his game. And like at this point in his career, I'd say it looks like that's not going to be part of his game. Which is kind of too bad, but he's still a great player to have on your team, and he's a solid defender. I mean, the plus minus with him on the court is like really good. He's got to be doing good things out there besides just shooting the threes. So I do like him. I think he's a good player. Too many fouls called on him, which a lot of them seem to be like questionable calls. It's like, why? It's always AJ Green being like, wow, that was a tough foul. But some of these guys, he played 42 minutes the other game, which with this roster, it's like, yeah, I guess I kind of want him playing 40 minutes, but that's kind of like just points to how this roster is missing some things here, And the other thing is Doc is just like, you're in or you're out. It's not like, does anyone just get like, why can't Cole Anthony play like 5 minutes, And then if it's like, hey, it's a good Cole Anthony game, maybe he gets more, or it's like a bad Rollins game or KPJ has had a lot of bad games recently. It's like maybe less KPJ and let's give Cole Anthony a chance. Okay, Cole Anthony's having a bad Cole Anthony game after 4 minutes. All right, done. You know, but like never playing him for a month after playing him 20 plus minutes a game. It's just like, why is it one or the other? I think he needs to. He's started just recently, kind of throwing some people out there. Pete Nance, Ajax was out there for 3-4 minutes. I want to see more of that. I mean, honestly, put Thanasis out there for 4 minutes. I actually kind of like it. He has a ton of energy. It might be a pretty positive 4 minutes, and you never do anything. You have everyone doing their normal minutes, even when they suck. KPJ has had, honestly, some horrible games. Yet he's playing like 35 minutes. It's like, dude, get this guy out of the game. Like, you have Cole Anthony. I know Cole Anthony is basically the same player but worse, okay, like overall. But, he has good games. Some games are good, some games are bad, and it's just like KPJ on certain nights, like he's not playing well. Let's take him out. Same thing with Rollins. He's had some bad games. And it's just... But anyway, the point being is we don't have... It's being proven out that this roster is not good enough. And we have a lot of role player type guys who are kind of asking too much of them. Even Kuzma, right? Kuzma seems to me like he'd be a great role player. I kind of like, in the right situation, get him on a cheaper contract where he's not feeling, everyone hates him because he's getting paid too much. And then play him for 15 minutes. Like, he could be a pretty great role player on a good team. I could see that. But when you're starting him, you're playing him 30 minutes and he's taken 11 threes and a half. Like, that's not Kuzma. You're not putting him in a good position here. So we're putting too many players in positions that they're just not up for, So yeah, it's difficult. So I mean, that's another reason to just like change up this roster, get some other, I mean, I guess my opinion, saying what we should do, I don't know how to do it. How's the trade going to work? But I would just like to give some young guys a chance. And then if you end up being bad this year, that's actually fine. Like, it's okay to be bad. I don't think we should try to be bad. I think we should take this year, especially now that we're 18 and 25, and throw Pete Nance in. Make him like in a full rotation guy. Let's see what Pete Nance is. I'd rather see Pete Nance take all of Bobby Portis's minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what do we have? Maybe we get a solid young player, for the future. Kind of like what we just got Ryan Rollins, last year. We have him on a 3 or 4 year contract now. Like, we have AJ Green, who is a 2-way guy. Like, okay, so Pete Nance is a guy for sure I want to see. And can you trade for a couple of guys? Does Oklahoma City, how do they have so many guys? They had 5 guys out. Okay, I think they played 9-10 guys. They all looked good to me. Like, can you grab a guy at the end of the bench of some of these good teams? I think you made the point last time. They can't keep everybody. They have to trade some of these guys. Horst, I think, is pretty smart, pretty good at that kind of thing. Find some of these guys who've been forgotten, haven't had the opportunity because they're on a good team, so they're not given the opportunity. There's guys out there that I would just rather see them playing than Kuzma, Portis, Gary Harris. Like Gary Harris, I actually kind of like him, but if you're not winning, it's just a waste. Like, put Ajax out there. Put the 23-year-old out there. Let's see if he can get better and figure stuff out. He's not going to figure it out on the bench. And who cares? What's Gary Harris doing if we're losing? Like, it's just a waste of minutes for a veteran. So that kind of a thing is really what I would like to see change. And Horst can kind of force Doc Rivers' hand if he kind of changes the roster a little bit.
I mean, I hope that's what Horst does. He has to sometimes force the issue. I think we've even mentioned that before, but it's like if Doc is leaning on some of these guys too long, force the issue and mix it up. But I mean, you nailed it. It's he relies on these veterans in these weird spots versus giving these young guys a chance because, you're right. Maybe we have the capital to trade, Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma for some younger player. Like you said, maybe it's some package deal towards the pick. Like, do we see somebody come out of the draft that has some of these abilities? Get some young prospects to take a look at, either for future trade pieces or not. But, going back to the AJ Green thing, I think you nailed it where you call him, relaxed confidence. I think that's exactly what it is. And I think it's almost like, I don't know if this team or the fans or something like that are hoping we're getting like Grayson Allen, because that's what AJ Green kind of reminds me. But when you remember we had Grayson Allen, we got to see lots of his games. He is a way better defender. He is more of a presence on offense besides just shooting threes. And that's not AJ Green at all. He gets his opportunity. I think we mentioned this before, but he plays like he's still fighting for a roster spot, which is crazy. It's like, give me the ball, I'm going to shoot. If I don't hit like 3, I know I'm going to be out or something like that. It's like, what is going on with you? You have to be able to do more. I don't know. I feel like, also if you had a bench of Bobby, Kuzma, and AJ Green as like your 6, 7, 8 guys, then that's probably a championship roster. But to your point, like these aren't guys that we should be relying on to start. So I don't know. I think if I was a betting person, I think we're going to see at least one big trade from the Bucks. Big name.
Big name coming in?
No, going out.
Okay. Yeah. To make a trade, unless it's just kind of a little, like we traded Beauchamp for KPJ last year. I mean, that was like a little small trade. I don't think you see those quite as often, and it's probably hard to do. So I think you are likely to see at least one of those simply because of the money, and then the question is, who are we getting back? So if your Kuzma's about $20 million. So like who's the $15 to $20 million player that we're getting back? And then is Doc going to play that? It's probably some guy who's, like I was saying, are we going to get like a guy who's not a winning player, just a stats guy? Now we have him on the roster. Is like Doc going to give him 40 minutes a game like that? Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Like we need to be on the same page here. Horst and the coach, and obviously we want Doc Rivers to be fired. But that would be another reason. Like if he's not on board with whatever the plan is, then like he can't be a part of it. Just fire him. Like, why is it so hard? Speaking of that, I guess one thing I wanted to talk about with the OKC game last night, I thought Giannis looked. First of all, he was pretty bad. One of his worst games that I've seen in a long time. He only took one shot in the first quarter, which is very odd. He just wasn't engaged. He wasn't as active. And then when he got the ball, especially after the first quarter, he really was forcing it, I thought, not playing a winning basketball. And now give credit to Oklahoma City for playing great defense. They're the number one defense in the league. We all know this. They're great. But I think Giannis wasn't even looking for other players. And after the game, he made some comments about guys not playing the right way, guys, just looking for their shot, kind of playing not hero ball, but selfish basketball. And they need to listen. He was talking about how the younger guys need to listen to the veterans. He seemed pretty upset, pretty frustrated with his players, with the players on the team. I don't know who exactly. I would assume he's talking about Ryan Rollins, maybe, younger guy who has the ball, I guess. I mean, I don't have too many complaints with Rollins, but I'm not sure who he was talking about exactly, but he was very upset. But more than that, even just from the beginning of the game, he just didn't seem ready to play and like win the game, And so I'm curious, like what was that about? I don't jump to like, oh, he wants to be traded. Everyone else is going to say like that's what this means. It means he wants out. Okay, I don't think that everything he's said to this point, like we've talked about, it's just he doesn't think that way. Now maybe this leads to him wanting out. Fair enough, but I don't think that's where his mind was at. Like he's frustrated, obviously, with losing. I'm sure he's really frustrated. We're 18-25. That's not where he wants to be. That's not where he expects us to be. But I'm just a little bit like, what's that about? What exactly is that about? Especially if he was feeling that before the game even started. Like, was there a conversation? Was there a bad practice? What's the deal there? And then secondly, I hope he's looking at himself. Because, like I said, throughout that game later, I feel like he was not playing team basketball. I think he was being selfish and kind of just trying to be hero ball. We're down 20. I'm just going to make this happen kind of thing. And so some of what he said, I was like, are you talking about yourself? Because I'm a little bit thinking like I want you to play a little bit differently sometimes, And so... Yeah, it's a tough spot. I mean, it's definitely the bottom. We thought we were at the bottom like 5 times this season. I think we've been there for a week or two. I don't know, when was that? We had like a blowout loss against Minnesota. It was probably, I think we've like kind of stayed at the bottom since then.
Yeah.
Because we beat the Hawks, but we almost threw that game away. It was just terrible. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. What do you think about Giannis? And I did talk, I think a month ago, I talked about how I would like to see him get more assists. I'd like him to penetrate and pass the ball more often. He's going into guys. Look, it works out a lot of times. His true shooting percentage is unbelievable. Like you can't complain about him too much. But I do think the 18-25 record is on him a little bit. He's the superstar. Okay, he shouldn't be on a team that's 18-25. Some of these guys were on the team last year. We weren't this bad last year. Miles Turner's not a bad player. Him replacing Brook Lopez should not make things worse, for sure. So why are we so bad with Giannis on the team, healthy for most of he was hurt for 10 games. Okay, that's something. But we're not very good with him. We're 24th net rating, or 24th offensive rating. It just doesn't quite add up. Like, I guess I do want him to take some of the responsibility here, and I want him to say it, I don't really love him putting blame on everybody else, especially when it's not so obvious. there's definitely something to what he's saying. Guys are taking shots. He didn't touch the ball nearly enough. You have to play through Giannis, and they're not doing it.
Mhm.
I'd say that's Doc Rivers' fault. But at the same time, you're a top 2, top 3 player in the world. Like, you should, you should make your team better. You should make the players on the team better. And why is that not happening this year? There's something going on.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if Giannis lacks leadership skills, and it's like you can be a great player without being a good leader. Sometimes you need somebody in the locker room to kind of take that on. When you're in the position like he is, there's a lot of assumptions. Like you're the leader of the team, you're the superstar, like he said. So he's forced into being in this leadership role, and maybe he's not comfortable with it, and maybe he needs somebody that's there for him. And maybe the problem that we're having is the people you might look at, his brother. Well, his brother is going to kind of suck up to him a little bit. It's his brother, he's always going to try to make sure he's feeling good. And then you got, some of the veteran players on our team, or excuse me, the coaches, like a Vin Baker. But Vin Baker is kind of lucky that he's still got a job with the Bucks. So it's like he doesn't want to piss anybody off. So everyone just kind of doesn't know what to do. And you need that big personality to come in and be like, look, I know I'm going to be here and we're going to like kick some ass and this is what we're going to do. I don't care who you are. That's really that energy that we need. That's going to really fire us up. And it's definitely lacking. And I think maybe that could be it. Maybe Giannis just doesn't have that skill. And that's why he doesn't say what we want him to say. That's why,
Mm-hmm.
all these conversations where it's like, just say this and
Yeah.
end it, and it doesn't happen. Maybe he just doesn't really have that leadership to know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to ask to have him be everything that we want him to be. I mean, even Michael Jordan wasn't I mean, Michael Jordan was an asshole, right? I mean, he like punched his teammates, right? So, I mean, I think everyone obviously has their flaws, and you can't be everything. And so, give him some grace here that he's not that. But at the same time, it's something that's not happening. That, hey, you're a superstar, not just a superstar, but like top player in the world kind of situation. It's something worth calling out, I would say. And in addition to that, it does kind of play into this idea where I think he could be getting 10 plus assists a game. The other thing is like Doc Rivers talked about this in the offseason, right? The offseason was like, hey, now we got who we want. We've been together. We got the chemistry. We got our plan. We're going to be more aggressive. We're going to be flying around on defense, moving the ball around. We're going to increase the pace. We got younger. None of that's happened. None of it. I mean, it's like as bad, like in terms of like, hey, how did this coach do? I don't know how you could do any worse than Doc Rivers, especially when we've heard what he's said and now seen, what's been on the court, and it's just like completely opposite. Nothing that he's wanted to do has been done,
Yeah.
And a part of what he wanted to do and part of what he talked about was point Giannis. I don't see any point Giannis. There's like a game maybe a week or two ago where that happened for like a half. For the most part, that's not happening. And it's actually kind of funny because KPJ was hurt for a month. It didn't happen. We're like dying for point guards here. We're being like, I guess Cole Anthony has to play 25 minutes. It's like, why don't you do what you talked about? Maybe Giannis could kind of play point guard for, 15 minutes of the game or something, like let's change some of this stuff up. So yeah, it's just frustrating on so many levels this season. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't understand Doc Rivers and the fact that, Darvin Ham, was this up and coming guy, came back and we just still suck. It's like I don't understand what the two of them are even doing half the time. So yeah, it sucks. It's super disappointing. I feel like sometimes the, body language and some of the comments from Giannis make it seem like he doesn't have a say in the Doc Rivers thing anymore. It's almost like he's held hostage by it. And I wonder if it has anything to do with maybe he was orchestrating the Adrian Griffin, push out. And maybe management was pushing back saying, no, like we have a great record and this is the guy that we wanted. And maybe they said, all right, if we fire this guy, the next guy we get is our guy and you have to ride it out type deal.
Yeah.
And Giannis hated Griffin so much that he's like, let's do it. And then got excited for Doc because it's like, all right, like, why wouldn't you be the first time you hear it? Doc Rivers, this, Hall of Fame coach is coming here. This is going to be great. Well, I just lost again. What the heck, man?
The coaching thing, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, you get excited that Doc Rivers is coming in, but then if you have a problem with him now, it's like management's going to look at you and say, look, we already did you a favor. We told you this time that we're sticking with our guy, and for whatever reason, maybe they're sticking to it. I mean, the way that, Jimmy Haslam, we're just going to, throw him under the bus for a little bit, is he kind of reminds me of like an Al Davis, where he just wants like the shiny toy. So what's the hot new thing that I can have? Collecting the big names, like you said, which is what I fear at like the trade deadlines where it's, oh, we got this big name, but it doesn't fit. So it's, you get Doc Rivers, you get to build up that we have this great coach and maybe something will turn around. And then as it gets worse, maybe you don't want to realize that you made such a mistake and rely too much on the name versus the record.
You're an NFL guy, much more than I am. Do you know enough about the Cleveland Browns to have some thoughts as to like why have they been so bad for so long? What kinds of things have they done? Is there a pattern? Is there like, oh, that's totally a Cleveland Browns thing? I don't anything you can say about, because Haslam obviously owner of the Browns, like any connection you can make there, or kind of point to the Browns and say like this is what they always do and this is why they suck all the time.
Well, I think for a number of years they were always drafting the bigger names in the draft versus like the people that maybe made sense. Drafting Johnny Manziel. Like, all right, like looking back, that was obviously a stupid thing, but like I don't know that Johnny Manziel was the guy for your team anyway. Like it's just a weird pick that you would have done that. And it's just a laundry list of guys that it's like, all right, like I understand the name, but I don't know if it's the right pick. And then all of a sudden there was a shift in the last, I don't know, 2 years maybe. Like the Browns killed it in the draft this year. And the year before they got a lot of great players too. And it's like they're hitting on some really key pieces in the draft. And it's like you're hopeful that maybe somebody finally tackled Haslam and said, look, you don't know what you're doing. Like, let us do what we need to do to turn this around. And I feel bad Stefanski left, even though he was probably one of the better Browns coaches in a while. But I think that they gave him a long leash because he was providing some of that stability into the organization that maybe they were lacking. So I could see very much the same type of thing. When Haslam came on, it just felt like there was a weird shift. It sounds weird to say, but I don't know, something has felt off ever since that. I don't know, the overall vibe maybe.
Yeah, lots of talk about him being the downfall of the Bucks and being behind, the Doc Rivers, and maybe being behind keeping Doc Rivers perhaps. And obviously being connected to the Browns, not a great sign. Now we have the president of basketball operations, I think is whatever it was. And the new guy for that is a Haslam guy. So that's like, people are kind of down negative on that, like, oh no, like this is all going to go the Cleveland Browns way. So I guess we'll see, but there is a direct line from Haslam to the Bucks being bad. I guess you could also say there's been a direct line since firing Coach Bud was around the same time. So, you could say a lot about what's happened. Why are the Bucks so bad all of a sudden 3 years later? But maybe we can give some grades, mid-season grades to some of the guys here. We've talked a lot about a couple of guys, but probably haven't touched on some. So I had a list here of in order of minutes played so far for the season. and we won't go through guys who've only played, a few minutes here and there. But the first guy, the guy who's played the most minutes is Ryan Rollins, who signed in the offseason, 3 or 4 year contract. Good, everyone's happy. Everyone's excited about his contract. He's great. He was a two-way guy last year. Awesome story for Ryan Rollins. And then he came out killing it. I mean, he was incredible. Everyone's talking about most improved player. He's getting national recognition. Has definitely not done quite as well the past month, I'd say. Maybe, I don't know how much of a connection there is since KPJ came back.
Mm-hmm.
How much has he gone down, and why is that? And maybe it's like, hey, we're asking him, hey, you're the point guard, you're the main ball handler. Okay, hey, now you're not. Now you're off ball, and then now for some stupid fucking reason, you're on the bench and you're playing 5 minutes. Okay, that's just one game. Now you're back. Now you're starting. Okay, it's like what? He's kind of getting thrown. His what he's asked to do is really kind of changing on a night by night basis. So I'll give him a little bit of a leash for that, but. Overall, like I said, he had an awesome start to the season. He's been kind of rough a little bit the past month. Overall, how would you say, what's your grade for Ryan Rollins this year?
I mean, I think you kind of touched on something that, his performance, you really kind of saw a couple things where, KPJ, I feel like his best games were when Rollins was out. Rollins' best games were when KPJ was out. It's like, you can't figure out how to play them together, and maybe that's weird. Half your problem. And it's again, I feel like feels like he's obligated to play certain minutes. Switch a rotation, have KPJ start a game and then Rollins starts the next game, and shift them off so that maybe they're more rested because they're alternating minutes or something. Like, I don't know, that just seems kind of like an obvious choice for me. But Rollins, I think I'm going to give him a B-, and I'll tell you why. Because, at the beginning of the year, I would say, he was an A, trending A+, like this is great. But I felt like as the games went on, like he talked about, he was just kind of missing a step. And it was just like, all right, like, why are you letting us down now? Like, we thought you had like this great momentum, and now you're just kind of like just some guy in the bench that can have a big game every once in a while. Like, really disappointing. And I think that disappointment is what kind of brings my grade down so far.
Yeah, it's understandable. He hasn't been great lately. I would probably give him, I'd be higher on him. I'm going to say B+ for Rollins. He was obviously an A for the first month. I don't know, a month and a half, I'm not sure. For that first stretch, he was outstanding, kind of went beyond expectations. But yeah, it has been rough. And again, I think part of it's kind of what we're asking him to do. Underlying everything is Doc Rivers just doesn't know what's going on here. He has a terrible plan, obviously, or the players aren't buying into it, or, there's kind of like the coach is not making this easier for for everybody. But overall, I think he's been awesome. And I haven't, KPJ I'm having doubts on. We'll get to him in a little bit here. I'm not sure about KPJ long-term as much as I am Rollins. Now, is Rollins a starter? Is he an all-star? Those are questions. I think he is, I'm very confident he's long-term solid NBA player. Like, I feel pretty good about that. He does the other things, the littler things. I think he's doing. He has the energy. He doesn't feel like he's owed anything. I don't know. I like his attitude on the court, I guess is what I'm saying. So anyway, I'd say B+. And then I did look up the lineup of Turner, Giannis, Green, Porter Jr., Rollins, which is kind of the starting lineup we expect, right? Now, of course, KPJ is hurt. I don't think we mentioned. He's hurt for, I guess, indefinitely. I guess an unknown amount of time. Kind of a weird. I don't understand that. It's an oblique injury. I don't know. I feel like they should have a time frame to it. But anyways, we probably won't see this lineup for a little bit. But the kind of the expected starting lineup is actually really good. It's plus 13.6 on the season, and it has played the most at this point now, 356 possessions. So that is kind of a bright spot as to like, hey, our starting lineup is actually really good, which I didn't realize. Actually, when I looked this up, I was kind of expecting that to be not that great. So that's good. That's because the other really good starting lineup is the one with Kuzma, Turner, Giannis, Kuzma, Green, Rollins, Kuzma, and for KPJ. And that one's still outstanding, plus 31.5. So maybe we'll see that one. Maybe that's the new starting lineup, although Doc's just throwing everything all over the place. So anyway, back to what we're doing. Rollins, you know what? I'm going to say A-, actually. I think he's having a great season compared, for what we expected. I'm going to go A-. Okay, next guy, most minutes played, is AJ Green. Second most minutes played so far this season. What do you got for AJ Green?
Well, now I feel like I went too low with my B- on Rollins, but yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe if I stick with my B-, I'm going to say AJ Green's like a C+. Again, he's great player. I feel like there's still a lot of issues on defense. You nailed it earlier, like we said. Confidence, bad passes, these across the court passes. I think he just had one last night. It's just dumb stuff. I don't understand what you're doing. So it's like it's almost like he's got the yips or something like that. Like somebody needs to calm him down and be like, just go out and do your job and stop like spazzing out while you're out there, and you'll be better off. So I'm gonna go with a C+.
Yeah, I think that's fair with kind of what we've talked about, being one-dimensional and fouling too much, kind of things like that. I'd probably go B. I'm going to say B-. I mean, he's shooting 44% from three. Pretty awesome. My complaints with him are I want him to shoot more. He's getting one just kind of quick comparable, which I don't know how fair it is or not, but I think Sam Merrill is kind of a similar player. And he was on the Bucks. But I think he's kind of a similar player in terms of, I haven't seen a lot of Sam Merrill, but I feel like he's just a three-point shooter. I don't think he's like driving to the lane that much, making layups. And I think he's pretty much like three-point shooter. And so looking at Sam Merrill's numbers, he plays a little bit less, 25.8 minutes a game compared to AJ Green with 29.5. Merrill gets 7.8 three-point attempts a game. He gets 9.6 shots. AJ Green gets 7 threes a game and only 7.7 shots total. So Merrill's getting more three-pointers, more total shots, more two-pointers, period, in less amount of time. And that's the thing with Green. It's like, you're such a good shooter. Like, I want you taking like 10 threes a game. Just, I want those threes to come up. And he passes... I think Gary Trent Jr. is a little bit better than AJ Green at the super quick release three, where sometimes you're just like, wow, I can't believe he took that shot and he got that. It didn't seem like he had enough room and he took it. Now AJ Green does do that sometimes. I just want him to do it more, and maybe like it's what we've been saying, like maybe he lacks confidence sometimes and just kind of passing it up, and some of that's maybe good. Like we got Giannis on our team, maybe we should try to work it to him, but at the same time, like AJ Green shooting threes and making 44% of them, that's actually helping Giannis. That's making everything easier for Giannis. The more you do that, the easier it is for Giannis to go to the rim every single time. Mm-hmm. So that's one kind of negative aspect to the season for Green, where it was something that I really hope that he kind of just lets it go, like just go for it. And then, like we said, he's not doing anything else on offense. He can't dribble it and really do much. Honestly, earlier in the season, he made a number of really good passes, and I haven't seen that in like the past month. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure why that's gone away. But he does have a good eye. He has kind of somewhat good vision. I think he's really good at that skip pass totally across the court. But haven't seen it kind of the second half of the first half of the season, I guess. So yeah, that and then too many fouls on defense, I guess. So all those things, and I had high expectations. You know, I mean, if I thought he was not going to be that good, maybe I'd say he's an A. But I expected him to be awesome. So yeah, somewhere in the B range for AJ Green, I think. The third most minutes is Miles Turner. We kind of touched on him earlier. New player, high expectations, and hasn't made the impact we've expected. But how much? What do you give his grade? Because we talked about Doc Rivers getting some blame here with like just not having a good scheme, offensively or defensively. But how much is on Turner? What's your grade for him?
I think it's hard to grade Turner because my first instinct would be like a B minus, like ahead with Rollins. But it's one of those things. Like, is Turner a disappointment? Maybe his numbers are going to show like he's playing way better than we thought, but it just doesn't seem like it's fitting, which is kind of the issue. So it's I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it's the offense that we run is so vastly different than Indiana that's like it's hard for him to click, or maybe it's hard for him to figure out, or something to it. But that's the thing. I like the way that he plays defense. I like the way that he does a lot of things. You said it earlier. I'm never like saying get him out of the game, but he goes through those weird streaks where Doc won't play him for the entire fourth quarter, which makes no sense. It's like
yeah.
I don't know. So it's really hard to grade Turner on that. But I'll just go with B minus because that was my first instinct, and that's kind of like encompassing the whole situation, not just his play, because I feel like he's a good fit. And he's really trying to make it a good fit.
Yeah, it is tough to grade. He's shooting 39% from three, which is great. I mean, you got to be happy with that. That's better than Brook Lopez. I'm pretty sure Brook Lopez was like 36% maybe. And we, and a part of that's like just taking as the center, stretching the floor, being able to take that shot and making it. Even if you make it more than a third of the time, like that's actually a good thing. So it's not like you need to be a 40% 3-point shooter, especially from the center position. But if we can stretch the floor, basically, if you're whoever's guarding you feels like they need to guard you, that's basically what you want here. That's what we're looking for. So we open up the court and have all those driving lanes for Giannis, and I guess the guards too. But yeah, so for Turner, it is kind of hard. Like you're saying, he's not even playing like a full fourth quarter. He's out for. I don't understand why. I'm not sure. When you saw Brook Lopez out a whole fourth quarter, it was like, yeah, it totally makes sense. I'm glad you're doing this. With Turner, it's like, is Portis? I mean, Portis is the best 3-point shooter in the league right now, I believe. His percentage is 46.7%. But that can't be it, Defense has to matter, and isn't Turner just obviously better on defense? I mean, is there even a question about that? And so, like, down the stretch, you're, like, going with Bobby multiple times here. It is a little questionable. Like, why aren't you starting Bobby then? Like, if you think he's so much better, I don't know. It's odd. But the grade for Turner, I guess I'd say C+ for Turner. Just because it just feels, it's probably just more of like an emotional response here. It just feels like this is supposed to be better, Yeah. So I guess I'd go C+. All right. The fourth most minutes is Kyle Kuzma, which is kind of an interesting one. I'd say we all think he's definitely having a better season than we expected. How good is it? What do you give Kyle Kuzma?
So I'm going to go with a B, but I kind of want to lean towards like a B+. I think the problem with Kyle Kuzma, and I think we've talked about this before, is everybody talks about his contract. It's the first thing they want to bring up. And it's like, okay, if he was a $7 or $8 million guy, you would be ecstatic for what he's doing. He's bringing energy. He's playing a great role. I do not understand the games where he's just launching threes. That just blows my mind. Stop doing that. Take like one or two. That's fine. But like, holy crap, like I can't be sitting there watching you just like launch him. That's not the game that I want to see. So, I don't know. I think the way that he's playing, he's trying to reinvent his career. I said it before, Washington was a place that just killed him. So he's kind of like learning to just play and enjoy basketball again. So, I'm liking the way that he's been playing, and I feel like if he was to contract aside, I'm going to go with a B plus.
B plus. That's what I was gonna say. B plus. I almost want to give him an A. I just he's so much better than I expected. Looking at his stats, I'm even more like, oh my gosh, he's doing exactly what we want. His 3-point attempts, 2.9 3-point attempts per game this year. That's the lowest in his career. Last year was the lowest in his career, second lowest, barely, with 4.6. So he went down from 4.6 to 2.9.
Well,
And that's like one of the first things that everyone would say. Like, you're bad. You're a bad 3-point shooter. Like, why are you shooting so many threes? Don't do it. He's only shooting 31% this year. Honestly, it feels better than that. He shot 33% last year. So that's awesome. Okay. Also, overall shots is his lowest of his career. 9.6 field goal attempts per game. Last year, he took 11.9. So that's awesome too. Now, part of that's a few less minutes, I guess. You got 5 less minutes. He's playing 26 minutes instead of 31, 32. But still, we don't want Kyle Kuzma taking up all the shots. The funny thing about this is I don't know what the stats are for the last week or two, but I feel like in the past 2 weeks, Kuzma's all of a sudden got a green light and he's just like shooting it all the time. And it's like, this is not what we want.
right. Yeah.
Why is this happening? I think that's Doc Rivers doing just like the worst possible thing. Like, I don't know what to do. Let's let Kyle Kuzma just go off. That's not going to help. So, yeah, not including the last 2 weeks, I think it's been just awesome and exactly what we want. He's getting 26 minutes a game. Honestly, a little bit credit to Doc Rivers playing him 26, not 30 plus. Like, that's good. I'd love it to be like 20 or less, but he's been good. And honestly, he's been a good defender. Like, he's one of our most reliable defenders, I feel like. So, I don't know. He's been pretty much better in every way than what we expected. Still someone I think you want to try and move. I don't think we don't want to pay him $20 million next year, and I don't know how much. It'd be nice to not have him on the team, I guess I'd say, but I don't hate him. I do think I think he could be a role player on a winning team, which is something I question from one of these other guys, but we're still not to him yet. Next player is Bobby Portis. A lot of fanboys hate Bobby Portis. To be honest, I haven't heard a bunch of hate this year, but there's so much to complain about this year. So that's maybe Bobby's just forgot. He was the only thing to complain about 2 years ago, right? So now I don't hear as much. He's leading the league in 3-point percentage. But what do you give Bobby Portis for the season?
I feel like Bobby gets a B. His 3-point shooting has been great. That's for sure. I feel like his just scoring in general has been pretty solid. He seems to be, kind of past that Bobby slide that we'd seen in the past and kind of just like already in mid-season form, which is great to see. But he still does things that are just, stupid, and it just kind of bothers you. It's like I feel like I'm always watching him bounce the ball off his foot out of bounds, when he's posting up or something like that. It's like stupid thing where it's like, come on, Bobby, like those are like the annoying things that I don't want to see. It's also like he's going to be the guy that's doing all the trash talking, but I don't think he's smart about it all the time. Sometimes he just doesn't know how to like de-escalate. And then it's like, these are the things that are going to cause the team to get into trouble because you're going to get a tech and, give the game away because you can't shut up sometimes. Like, it's okay to kind of antagonize and get in the other guy's head and stuff like that. But like, when it's starting to escalate, like you got to just calm down. Those are the things that like I know it's Bobby being Bobby, but at the same time, it's like that's why I can't go much higher than where I'm at.
So I listened to a couple of podcasts that were upset with Bobby for the flagrant foul, I believe, that he got for, I don't know, like putting his shoulder into Cason Wallace.
Yeah.
And then Cason Wallace came back and tried to push him, but didn't move him. When I was watching the game, I saw that, I was like, this isn't a big deal. It was kind of earlier in the game.
I thought, yeah.
We were down 20. It's like, maybe this is something to get the team going. Like I didn't have a negative feeling about it, but both Bucks podcasts I listened to pointed that out and were kind of upset with Bobby about it. Sounds like you don't agree. Sounds like you think it was fine. Like that was Bobby being kind of maybe trying to give the spark that we sometimes like.
Absolutely. It was, definitely a hard block. And, when I saw the replay, it was like, yeah, that was hard. It was, it was probably a little unnecessary, but it was like, come on, it wasn't that big of a deal. And, I appreciate they kind of leaned into the description when they're like flagrant one, unnecessary move or whatever it was. It was like, okay, that's fair. It was unnecessary, but hopefully it's a spark to do something. I'll give him credit for when, Cason Wallace came over and tried to move him. He just kept walking. Didn't talk back, didn't say anything. It was like,
yes,
that's great. That could have escalated really too. Bad.
Yep.
But he was calm and collected, and that was great. But I don't know. Like I think there's got to be ways to get everybody excited without getting into like all these fights and stuff like that. Like that's Draymond Green territory, and there's more people that hate him than love him, and it's like. The year we were winning the championship, Bobby's like running down the court, like, doing like jazz hands or something like that. It's like you can get the crowd worked up that way instead of like fighting. Like that, I don't know. That just seems like that's not going to work long term.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'd give Bobby a B. I'm not really disappointed with him. I mean, the first 2 weeks, I don't forget how long it went. That was bad, actually. So maybe it should be like a C because that was so bad to start the season. But since then, in typical Bobby fashion, he's gotten into form. And maybe I'm saying how he's playing now is a B. Maybe overall I should say C because of the really rough start to the season. But honestly, I forget. I believe it was like poor shooting to start the season. So I don't know what his 3-point percentage was after 2, 3, 4 weeks. But to get that up to 47%, leading the league in 3-pointers after the start of the season, that's pretty impressive. Like he's been very good at shooting the three the past couple months, I guess. Okay, so those are the 5 most minutes played so far. Haven't gotten to Giannis yet, of course. The 6th most minutes played is Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr., I'd say overall disappointment. Now, how disappointed are you? What grade are you going to give Gary Trent Jr.?
I'm probably going to go like a C minus. We were really excited when he came over to free agency because we knew that he was looking for a big contract, and we talked about a redemption period with Milwaukee, and then it kind of seemed like he had some hot streaks, and there was this kind of assumed under the table Bobby Portis deal where it's like, hey, take a little less this year, we'll take care of you after that.
Yeah.
But then the play just hasn't been there. I feel like you kind of forget Gary Trent Jr.'s on the team sometimes. When he's out there, it's like, yeah, I can take it or leave it. Like it's not getting me too excited. Where's the Gary Trent Jr. that was draining 8 threes in a game or something like that? That's what we're looking for. The one that we're getting now. If he got traded tomorrow, I don't know if they would really recognize it. A lot of people watching casually would be like, oh yeah, I forgot Gary Trent Jr. was traded 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of like, maybe I should even call it an incomplete because I don't even know what to grade him on?
Um, yeah, he started 17 games. He's playing 24 minutes a game, taking 5.5 threes per game. He has his worst 3-point shooting percentage of his career. It's not that bad. It's 35.6%. But it is the worst. He's known to be a 3-point. That's what he is. He's a 3-point shooter. He's known to be a good one. He shot 41.6% last season. So that's not great. 6 points worse. That's noticeable, I guess is what I'm saying. You obviously noticed it. Where are those 8 threes? I think you can't really quantify defense, and I mean when it's like super obvious, like this guy just sucks on defense. I don't think Gary Trent Jr. sucks. I don't think it's so obvious, but I think he must be a bad defender. It's just like the numbers when he's on the court are so bad. He is small. Like sometimes you do see it where just get guards, taller guards, just kind of they can take him. It's just he's not a problem for him. He's not like super feisty. He's not guarding him 94 feet. So it's just like he tries hard. I think he's not like a nobody out there, but in the aggregate, I think he's a negative player on defense. And his offense needs to be just really good. He needs to be just a stellar offensive player to kind of make up for that. Or overall, he's going to be a negative player. So when you're shooting 35, closer to 35% from three, it's just not quite good enough to rationalize having you on the court for 24 minutes a game. Like and I don't know if he needs to be a DNP. Maybe sometimes he's a DNP, but sometimes he plays. I guess I'm not sure where it should fit exactly. I mean, how good he was at times last year, you'd hope that he plays minutes, And like I said, maybe he's a guy you throw him off for 5 minutes. Does he have it today? Is it working? Is it who else are other people struggling? Like, maybe sometimes he gets 20 to 30 minutes, but I don't think he should be in the rotation like automatic 25 minutes. I think we've seen that at this point. So we'll see where it ends up. Like we've talked about, just trade him if you can. There's got to be teams who are like, yeah, he's a good shooter. We need shooting. We don't have it. I feel like there's a trade to be had somewhere. Again, just go get a young guy. Go get a guy who hasn't had the opportunity. It's his second year, third year. Take a shot at it, So anyhow, I don't know what I grade him. I guess I would say C- for Gary Trent Jr. What'd you give him?
C-.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Totally in sync here. Okay, now we get to one where you might just be like, yeah, obviously it's an A+, but maybe not. What do you think about Giannis? What's your grade for Giannis?
I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to go lower than A. Based on the way the guy's playing. He's always the best player on the court, just every single time. And it's always obvious. It's not like somebody where, we'll have games where Ashley and I will be watching and she's like, wait, who's the best player on that team? It's like you could watch 2 seconds of a Bucks game and know who the best player is. I do feel like I have to blame him though for that lack of leadership that I kind of talked about before. Like it might not be in your DNA, but at the same time, like suck it up. Like you're getting paid a shitload of money to be that guy. Take lessons. I don't know, do like one-on-ones with somebody and bring it to the team or something. But like you have to be that guy. And if you're saying people are quitting on the team, maybe it's because it looks like you quit on the team. Like people are watching and they're like, this guy doesn't, you just said last night didn't seem like he had the energy or he was ready to play. Well, how is anyone else going to get fired up for the day if that's what they're seeing? It's going to be like, well, he's kind of over, so I guess that's just what we're doing. So I mean, that's why I'll just knock him down to an A instead of an A+, because it's like I'm putting it on you, even though it might not be on you. Like you gotta figure it out. You just gotta, you know, with Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
That's right.
You can't just be the best player and be the quiet one either. Um, Show some leadership, figure it out.
That's right. I'm looking at his per 36 minute stats, partially because he's been on a minutes restriction since the injury, and I'm not sure it's fair to look at just overall per game, because if I look at overall per game, it's less on kind of most statistics because he's playing a little bit less overall minutes per game. So looking at per 36, he actually has the most assists per 36 in his career. So I'm calling for him to have more assists. He does have the most assists he's ever had, but I am calling for more. It's 6.9. Last year was 6.8. The year before that was 6.7. So, it's in a similar range here, but it is the career high. So kudos to him for doing the not regressing. He's having his best true shooting percentage, his best 2-point field goal percentage season, his best 3-point field goal percentage. He's actually shooting 39.5% from three, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's looking way better. His shot looks way better.
Yeah, when he shoots, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
He's only taking 1.6 a game. Back in the Bud years, he was taking 3, 4. He took 5.5 a game one of those years. So, I mean, at this point, hey, like, maybe take a few more. That's fine. You can't really, like you're saying, you can't really complain about a lot of these numbers. It's just the leadership, intangible, and maybe it's unfair. Maybe he's doing everything he can and he's doing it the right way, and it's just not turning into wins. Okay, I mean, that's possible. Maybe Doc Rivers is that toxic. I don't know. But I just can't help but blame someone who we have as that high. If Michael Jordan was on this team, what would we be saying about Michael Jordan? Would we be giving him a pass? When Jokic, if his Nuggets are this bad, is he going to get a pass? I hope not. I hope not. Maybe he will. So I'm just saying, I feel like it's somewhat on Giannis, and so I'm going to say B+. I don't think I can give him an A when they're 18 and 25, even if he was hurt for 12 games or I don't know, whatever it was. So I'm kind of just the asshole, I think. But I want him to be perfect. I want him to be the best ever. So hopefully he can turn this around. He obviously wants to. He has the total drive that you want from any superstar, to right? Like the drive that Joel Embiid obviously does not have.
Yeah.
Right. Or Ben Simmons, or I don't know. There's just certain guys out there who have so much talent and just don't have the drive, and that's always kind of frustrating to see. And when you see someone have unbelievable talent and unbelievable drive, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, it's just amazing. You're just so lucky to have him on your team. You just, I just expect everything from him. So that's why he gets a B+. Okay. The last one we're going to do is Kevin Porter Jr., who I guess he's kind of streaky. There's like a 2 weeks here where he's like, oh my God, he's awesome. He should be an all-star. And there's 2 weeks there where you're like, get this guy on the bench. Like, he kind of sucks. And that's kind of where we've ended before his injury here. Overall, I guess, what do you give Kevin Porter Jr.?
I'm probably gonna be like a B-. He has great games, but some of those early games where it was like, all right, he looks like a true point guard. He knows how to, uh, dish the ball, and he's a good scorer. But like all of a sudden, it's like he was the primary scorer, and he was playing like he was Allen Iverson. Like, it all goes through me, and it's like, well, hold on. Like now I'm not liking the shot selection. Now I'm not liking your scoring ability because it's you now feel like you're the guy that has to do it all. And it's like you forgot your role in the team, man. And maybe that's why you had problems before, like fitting in some of these places, because that's not the way you play. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but yeah, I think that's why I'm gonna go B minus.
Yeah, I love what you said about it. I think that's so true. He kind of has this presence of I'm an all-star, I'm an all-pro, I'm like a Damian Lillard level player. He kind of has, and in a sense, you're like, you want people to have that confidence.
Yeah.
I don't like hate everything about that. At the same time, it's just so you're not that guy. Like you haven't, so far at least. If you want to be that guy, if you think you're that guy, it hasn't happened yet. The thing about that is it's consistency, and it's not necessarily every single game. Damian Lillard would have a game here and there, which were bad, terrible shooting, like 3 for 13, whatever, just not very good. Even Steph Curry, like, will have that kind of a night. So it's not like you can't have a bad shooting night, but it's also just what are you doing overall with the game itself. Do you have 8 turnovers, and what's your attitude? Are you getting assists? Are you helping your teammates do better? And so with KPJ, it's just a lot of times a lot of dribbling around, and kind of taking over the game when you have a Giannis next to you, and it's like he's the one who should be taking over the game, perhaps. But then especially it's just too inconsistent, just too many games that are high turnovers, poor shooting, poor shot selection, just not playing the right way, basically, and it's just not being a winning player, and that's what I'm worried about with him. It's just like, are you a winning player? Are you on the margins doing the right things and like fundamentally doing what you're supposed to do? And then outside of that, maybe you have a good shooting night, maybe you don't. Maybe you have more turnovers every once in a while, but you're still doing the right things and you're playing the right way and you're playing within the team structure and making your teammates better. I don't know. I kind of have a lot of questions with him as to like what kind of player is he? Can he be a winning player? I don't know. So, maybe that's why I kind of talked about trading him and kind of would just be more comfortable not running with the Kevin Porter Jr. experience and kind of taking that risk of like, this is our team, because he kind of takes over a little bit. He kind of becomes the identity of the team when you have Giannis on the team, and it's like, that's not good. You don't want that. Ryan Rollins doesn't take over the identity. He kind of fits in and kind of plays next to Giannis and does what's needed. KPJ kind of takes over, and if you're not Damian Lillard, if Damian Lillard does that, that's fine. It's Damian Lillard. He's great. Okay, this season has just proved all the more how good he was. And so that's the concern with KPJ. And so, yeah, he had a great, he was hurt for a month. He came back. He was really good for a little bit. He's been bad for, I don't know, kind of a little while here. I'm going to say C for Kevin Porter Jr. And he has a lot to prove, I think. I'm not against him. I don't think he sucks. I don't think he's terrible. But I approve of him coming off the bench at this point. I approve of that. Although I kind of question myself a little bit because the starting lineup data is actually really good with him. So I'm not sure what to say. This team's too difficult. We don't have enough good players. But yeah, I think the jury's out on Kevin Porter Jr. and I think he's got that player option for like $5 million next year, and that's actually kind of interesting. And now he's hurt indefinitely. I mean, if he's hurt for the rest of the season, I feel like he's picking that up. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if he's hurt the rest of the season, you got to pick that up because I don't remember what was going on, why he was kind of out of the league.
Well, he beat up his girlfriend.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. but like you're still young. You don't want to have like another thing on you. What do you like off the court? Now you're injury prone. Like, you got to take the $5 million and hope that you can kind of rebound and see where you're going to go from there. So I think that's definitely the case. But, you could also have the rumor mill, with the trade deadline coming up, the fact that he's not playing and they won't commit to the injury, maybe they're shopping him. And the way that he plays, they're like, don't play him because we're going to ruin any potential trade. And then maybe he gets traded, and next thing you know, like he's surprisingly over the oblique injury, and it healed up a lot quicker than they thought. Um, it's
Yeah.
possible, you know.
Uh-huh.
You never know.
It is possible. Okay. Well, I think we got some stuff off our chest. I know I did. Maybe that's why this went a little long, hour 20 at this point. In 2 weeks, the NBA trade deadline is in 2 weeks. It's on Thursday, February 5th. So we'll see what our schedules are. Maybe we can line up, or maybe they'll make some trades before then. But that's our next pod is sometime during that week. So hopefully we have some trades to talk about. And I think we'll probably have some Pete Nance. We barely mentioned Pete Nance, and he's been awesome to see. So he'll probably play the next couple of weeks. So we'll have a little bit to talk about with Pete Nance, and who knows what else Doc Rivers is going to do. I think that's it for today. What do we do? We got to subscribe. You got to rate us. You got to text us. You got to email us. DoubleDribbleBucks@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at PodDDB. I'm still calling it Twitter. And until next time, go Bucks.